Hey, I'm Joel, and today I'm going to be using Roland's Zenology Pro software synth to create a hardstyle-esque kick. I'm not really sure if it's hardstyle, hard dance, gabba. I don't know. Genres confuse me, but this is the finished product anyway. Alright, so I am using some Ableton effects, so I'm just going to quickly turn them all off here. So the sound with just Zenology Pro here. Also, make sure your MIDI clip with your notes, make sure they're the full duration rather than just keeping it, like so. We'll have them in the full duration, and that way we can play around with little gaps like this. So that's what it sounds like without any effects. Alright, so hardstyle kick, so click here and we'll make sure all is selected under bank and we'll select initial tone to initialize the patch. So that's, by default, it's going to sound like this. Not very hardstyle, but let's make a couple of changes. We'll click OSC here, oscillator. We'll change the oscillator on the first partial. We'll click the name here under PCM. And we're going to, on the right hand side here, single OSC saw, and we're going to choose number 4, the ramp wave. So listen to how that sounds. I'm going to make sure mono is selected here, so only one note can play at the same time. There's no overlapping. Okay, so we're going to turn on partial 2 here, and we're going to change the oscillator on that one by selecting this here again, the name. And we're going to, under single OSC digital here, we're going to choose number 29, which is wavetable. So that by itself, with the first one. Alright, so we're going to change the pitch of that first one immediately. So we're going to take pitch and then change the course tune down 1 octave. There we go, it's nice. So, first partial. Second partial. Alright, we're going to use the third partial here as a noise generator to add like punch to the start of the kick. It's going to sound a bit weird at the start, but just bear with it. It'll come together slowly. So we'll choose noise here. I know this is going to be too loud, so I'm going to press amp EQ and turn the level down. Straight away, if we want, we can just, while we're here, we can change the amp envelope here to about 112. Really nice and quick. Okay, we're going to turn on the fourth partial here and change to oscillator. And we're going to select, still under PCM, we're going to press the name here. And we're going to go to drum E-kick on the right-hand side. We're going to select number 594, which is this 909 distorted kick, which sounds pretty cool. So by itself. First thing we'll do is make sure the kick is in key. So the MIDI clip, I'm doing it in the key of F. F, you got plenty of room to go down to the low C and the D, but you can still go up and stay within that real low sub-octave range. So I like F. So we'll go to pitch here. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that the kick is tuned to F. So if we turn on a spectrum analyzer after Zenology Pro here, we can see when we play it with just the kick playing here, it's far too low. So make sure pitch is selected, course tune, we'll bring it up an octave. And we can see there, that's in D. So we know we've got to go from 12 semitones at D to D sharp, E, F. So 15 semitones boosted in this case. And we can confirm that. We can confirm that by holding our mouse over the peak and the low frequencies here. And in bottom left there, we can see that it is in the key of F now. It sounds pretty cool. So now we've got our 4 partials. I'll play them all together. It's going to be a bit nasty still. So we're going to work on the amp envelopes here. So on the first 2 partials here, we're just going to have a little bit of attack. So we'll take this first point here and change it to about 159. This doesn't have to be perfect now. We can fine tune all of these later. Let's just get it in the vicinity. So 157 there. And then listening to that by itself. Fat. Now we'll increase the release here. I'll explain why later, but we'll just increase the release to about 350. Doesn't matter too much, somewhere around there. Turning on the second partial again, let's increase the attack just a little bit. So it's just like a tiny little bit of silence before it plays. So about the 73 mark, 74, that's good. So listening to that by itself. Listening to the first two. Nice. And we'll increase the release again to about the 350 or so mark, 354, 345, close enough. Okay, so putting in the third partial now with that noise, which we already added in. So listening to the first three. We can change the levels around now if we like, but again, we don't need to commit to anything yet. So now we add in the fourth partial, the kick. You can hear how that's coming together. We'll just increase the release on the kick just to make sure that it's around the same vicinity as the others. Alright, cool. So now we're going to add, we're going to add the infamous mid-range EQ boost on the kick here. So we're going to turn the EQ on the first partial here and select EQ. And we want to find F around the mid frequencies, sort of just north of 1000K. So we know by looking at a spectrum analyzer that about 1400 hertz or 1.4 kilohertz is F. See that whole region there. If you look at the bottom left, that whole region is F. So if we boost around 1400 hertz, it'll be F, and that's the key of our song. So we'll just stick to that for now. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. We'll work with it. So we boost that there about the 1400 mark. And then we're just going to change the mid Q, so it's a nice little spike there. So listening to that by itself, without the EQ, with the EQ. Again, still not perfect, but we're working with it here. So we'll turn on partial 2, turn on the EQ on that one. And if you know anything about music theory or sound, how it works, if when a frequency is doubled or halved, that's the octave up for doubled and down for halved. So we know that if 1400 hertz is 1400 hertz is F, we know that around 700 hertz is also F. So we can take the second EQ here on the second partial on the EQ around 700 hertz and boost that, and then make sure 699 close enough. We boost the mid, and then we listen to those two together. I'll just solo the second partial here, so without the EQ, with the EQ. A little bit of a ring in there, but we can fix it later. And we can confirm that F is around 700 hertz by going on the spectrum analyzer. See the bottom left there? It starts at about 681, goes to about 720, 718, so about half of that. It's about 700, just under. So there's our first two partials done. So listening to them all together. It's going to bring the decay back a little bit on that white noise. Just listening without the white noise. So you can definitely hear the difference that adds. If we want, we can always take out the low frequencies on that. Find somewhere that sounds nice, but probably around a similar frequency to one of these here, key of F. I don't think it really matters, but let's just do it anyway. Again, nothing is final. Alright, so now we'll move across to the filters. We want the first filter here to be the Moog filter, MG, and then the 24 decibel slope on the filter. And we'll bring the cutoff to around 570. So we're just using this partial as sort of the lower frequencies. That's kind of cool there. And then we'll go to partial 2 here. We're going to change the filter on that one. You're going to leave it, put it as a low pass 2 filter, 24 decibel slope. Cut off about 826. Or so, 827. So listening to that one. This partial we're going to use as sort of like the the bass element between the kick, so it's like kick bass, kick bass, kick bass. So we're gonna bring the envelope depth all the way down, and then we're gonna add some envelope to it. So we'll bring that first knob out, and then we'll bring this second one up here. So you'll be able to hear this sound. I'm gonna bring the kick in just so we can hear how it sounds, and we're gonna use this envelope to get the timing. Cool. So bringing them all in together. Nope. Firstly, we're going to change the filter on the white noise. So we're going to use MG filter on the white noise, 24 decibel cutoff, slope, sorry, and then bring the cutoff down just a bit, about 937. We can use the envelope on that one if we want to make it really snappy. Bring the envelope depth up, and then just bring the envelope here up. Yeah, it's so subtle, it doesn't even matter. I wouldn't even worry. And then on the third one here, the fourth partial, we'll put it on a regular low-pass filter, 24 decibel slope, and then we'll bring the amount down just a touch, and we can change the resonance to really mess with that sound to boost the high frequencies. We don't need much because there's already a lot going on in this sound in the high frequencies, so probably just leave it there, just a tiny bit of resonance. That's it for most of it. We just need to get that pitch sound, that real the pitch, the attack, the real click at the start of the bass, start of the kick. So we'll go to pitch here. Let's have a listen actually to all four of them. It's coming along. So now we could go through and do them all one by one. So like so. I'm just going to show you that by itself. Bring the envelope all the way up. But what we're going to do is we'll just, while we're on this screen here, we'll bring the pitch envelope up on all of them. Don't think we need it on this oscillator here, this partial here actually, but I'll just do it for now. So we're going to go to Pro Edit. Well, we can do this a couple of ways. We can find the initial, the pitch envelope amount on this first partial here by just finding it. Now I know in my notes here I've got it set at 62. So 66 will do. So we know that there. Just going to bring the filter up so we can hear it. So bringing that filter back down, 570 or so. So what we're going to do, go back into pitch here. So we've got that where we want it. So we're just going to go into Pro Edit mode. Pro Edit's really cool because you can get all the numerical values for everything here. So if we click pitch envelope on the left, we've got all these different options here. So we can see here that the first partial here, we've got the decay. We'll set it to 61 because I know that works good for for the finished product that I demoed at the start. And we can see level 2 here is at 511. So if we go back to visual edit, we can see the amount is 511, and then it's the number of the decay is 61. So see there, 511 and then 61. So we can see 511, 61. So we know that if we just copy those across to the other partials, 61, 61, 61, 61. And if we change here, level 2 here, so 511, 511, 511. So now if we listen to all those, we'll listen one by one. Doesn't really matter on that second one because it's got the attack on it, but on that kick, if we bring the pitch envelope depth down on that one, we can hear the difference. Now we'll bring it up. You can find a place that suits you, a sweet spot, but we'll just leave it on 100 for now, max. And if we see what that's doing over here, that's this, in visual edit here, that's this section here. The amount of the sound is being sent to the envelope, or the amount of the envelope that's applied on the sound, I should say. So now if we listen to them all together, sounding pretty cool. Gonna have a listen to that first one. All right, so we've got all 4 of them together. If we want, we can click pitch here and bring the tuning. Actually, what we will do is we'll change the fine tuning on partial 2 just a little bit, just to slightly offset it from the first partial. So we'll set fine tuning to about 6. Such a subtle difference. We can even add a little bit of random, just a tiny bit. I'll go max so you can hear it. It's obviously not musical, so just a tiny little bit of random. So subtle, it's barely even there. If we want, we can take that partial down an octave as well. Sounds a bit weird. We'll just leave it at 0. Cool. All right. So that's it for the sound design in Zenology Pro. Of course, we can go and change a bunch of these settings to really, really fine tune it. But for now, I think that sounds pretty good. Now the real fun begins, I think. So we're going to add some overdrive for starters. We're going to boost those mids. So I've just boosted around the 1,400 kilohertz, 1,400 hertz or 1.4 kilohertz. Just a little bit of drive, a little bit of like on the lower end of the tone. The dynamic's about 1/3 and then not much dry wet. So without it. And with it. Just adds a bit of crunch. We can increase the drive if we want. And changing the dry wet. Yeah, we really don't want much happening there. Now, I used a saturator. I used the mid-range fattener plugin. What did I actually do to differentiate it? So, yeah, I changed the depth and I changed the frequency again to 1,400, which is the F that we were playing in. And then I reduced the output a little bit and changed the dry wet. So that's, just get rid of that there. So listening to that here. So without it. With it. We can really hear the difference that's making there. I added a dynamic tube onto it. So I just added the default dynamic tube, looks like that. And then I just changed some of the settings. So I reduced the dry wet, increase the output just a little bit, increase the drive, reduce the tone a lot. So it takes out a little bit of that high end buzz. Increase the envelope a little bit, decrease the attack from the default, and there's increase the release. So it's a shorter attack on the sound and a longer release. So it sort of applies a bit quicker and takes a little bit longer to, remove the effect from the sound. So deleting that one. So listening to this. So without it. With it. Just adds a little bit of crunch. Now I did some multi-band compression. I'm not a master at compression by any means, but I just increased the input on the highs, the mids, and a little bit on the lows. And then I think that's just about it. Bring the threshold down on the highs a little bit. Definitely play around with this sound a little bit. Don't go too crazy. A little bit can go a long way. I might have overdone it here, but this kick's just meant to be saturated and distorted anyway and compressed. So let's have a listen without the multi-band compression. Now with it. So you definitely can play around with those settings if you want less highs. Or less or more lows. Lots of options there. Now I added a reverb, so I've got a pretty short decay time. Well, it's about a second, but it's still pretty short. I changed the quality to high, reduced the size quite a bit, and the dry wet. I think the main thing that I found with this is I made a really dense sound here. I cut out the lows and a lot of the highs, and then I increased the reflect volume to maximum. So the sound, because obviously reverb's emulating sound in a room. There's the sound you're hearing making its way to the walls, and then the sound you're hearing reflected back off the walls. So I've got that sound reflected back, turned up full. So listening to without the reverb. Now with the reverb. You could even go like low quality. It's kind of cool. I'll increase the dry wet so you can hear what it's like at full dry wet. So that's essentially what the sound is blending with. Alright, so here, can you hear this part here? Something's a bit weird there. I'm just going to go back to the amp. Actually, I know what it is. It's the filter. I think it's the filter. Yeah, it's the release on the filter. Yeah, cool. So I see as soon as I change that, so with no release on the filter envelope, so that means as soon as the note stops, as soon as the note's stopping, the envelope is being removed from it, but we want that envelope to remain with the amplitude, with the release of the volume on that kick, on that sound. So we're just going to increase the release here. We can do some cool stuff with that. Yeah, so we'll keep the release on that about the same as the other 353, the same as we did on the amplitude envelope, or close enough. All right, that's almost it. So there's one more little trick here. So if we change this kick to a more melodic pattern, let's just quickly change the key here. Oh, not the key, sorry, the pitch of these notes. So let's just go major second, minor third, and then we'll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect fifth here. You can hear, I don't know if you can hear, let's just solo the kick sound. So you can hear that the kick is actually pitching with the notes. So that's not a good thing, because, well, it's good because it keeps the tonalities together, but because it's sample based, the kick is going to get shorter as it increases in pitch and then lower as it decreases in pitch. So to get around that, if we open our Zenology Pro, go to Pro Edit here, we can go to pitch, and then we can go, see it says pitch key follow here, and everything defaults to 100. So that means, I think that's a percentage, so it 100% like pitches to the key that's been played. So we want to remove that to 0, and then it's not going to be in the right key immediately, but now no matter what key is played, that kick, the fourth partial, which has a kick on it, is going to remain at whatever key you lock it in at. So right now it's going to sound weird. It actually sounds cool for an intro to a song. But what we're going to do is we're going to, because we've got it pitched up 15 semitones from its default sound, so we're going to remove that now. So now we'll listen to it. And if we look here, if we watch it following here, it's not going to change pitch anymore, because we removed the key follow. Nice. So we've got to make sure it's still in F. So we'll open our spectrum analyzer. So it's in A sharp now. So we need to change that. So we need to change the chorus tuning. So if we go from 0, -1 is A, and then -2 is G sharp, and then 3 is G, -4 is G, F sharp, -5 is F. Sorry, -4 is F. That's better. So that should be an F now. There it is. And remember, no, never mind. So yeah, that's in the key of F now. So now when we bring the other partials in on this, actually we'll remove key follow from the white noise as well. I don't think it actually does change key, but just in case. Yeah, so we'll put the pitch key follow on partial 3, which is our white noise, to 0. And then now if we bring in all 4 partials, this melodic pattern will play with the melodic elements, but the kick will stay in place. It's got a bit crazy and just see what happens, just so you can get an idea. F minor. There. Music theory. So of course these other partials here we've used are actually sample based as well, but they kind of translate a little bit better to the changing of pitch. We could just go ahead and make them regular saw waves. And that would sort of pitch a little bit better, but it really doesn't matter too much. Just leave it on what we had. If you want, you can go around, you can change them. I personally think leave the white noise in the kick, unless you don't like the kick sound, in which case change it. You could always change both of these partials here, so you could get that the two sounds there, the melodic content the way that you want it. So one last time, listening to all of it with all 4 partials. Bring that back to where we had it. There you have it. A hardstyle-esque kick in Roland's Zenology Pro software synth. Thanks for watching.